What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name is Fonzie, joined by my co-host, indie game dev, and my UK bro from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, how are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, I'm all merched up, so I feel sort of official. So hopefully that will mean that my opinions hold even more weight now.
Yeah, we finally got it's a standard for YouTubers and influencers, they have to
Yeah,
have their whole, makeup line and merch line and diet teas that
yeah,
they're pushing on
yeah.
Instagram. So
I've got to say though that the designs in there are really good. Like they're really like great. Like I wanted to buy so much because I bought the pink hoodie just 'cause I love the design on it. It's really good. Like, and loads of the others as well. It is really cool designs. It's just a shame because it's the shipping's quite expensive to the UK, but it's not really. I mean, you don't need to care about us anyway. But no, yeah, there's some really nice stuff on there.
well, that's a bummer for the shipping because I guess it's an American company, so it doesn't let me set
Mm.
the shipping costs. But
Yeah.
that's a bummer. But yeah, there's just designs that float around my brain that I will
Yeah,
every once in a while put down to paper and put them up. But yeah,
yeah, they're
it's
really
fun.
nice. You should definitely. Because I didn't realize. I mean, I don't. It might just be me being stupid, but I
Probably.
didn't realize you had you had sort of all those different designs and things. They're really good. I definitely will end up getting some more. I just need to suck up the £25,000 postage fee.
Is that how much it is? Jesus.
No, it's like £10 or something, so it's not too
Okay.
bad.
All right. Well, you got some maybe new income coming in soon, so you're gonna be balling, throwing money left and right.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Well, Callum, how you been? How's your week? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been nice. Yeah, just I mean, every day's blending into one because of lockdown and
Oh
everything.
yeah.
But things in the UK at least are getting positive in terms of COVID. Our vaccine rollout's been, really in hindsight now, really well rolled out, and it was really criticised at first because we were doing things very differently. Like we extended the time between shots by quite a lot, and sorted out the supply in a certain way, and now it's sort of come out that it's one of the best vaccine rollouts in the world. So you got to give UK government credit where it's due because they don't normally do anything good. So yeah, hats off them. So hopefully that will start. Lockdown restrictions will start hopefully lifting soon. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear. I know, especially since in the UK they were like messing around with the second, evolution of
Mm,
Corona. I'm not sure what's going on
yeah,
with that, but
yeah.
as far as the vaccine, that's dope. I do want to give a
Mm.
shout out to Luke the Llama in the chat saying he finally caught our stream. Glad to have you, Luke. I know he's been watching the streams for a little while now. He's from Canada. I wonder, Luke in
Oh, cool.
Canada, how they're rolling out the vaccine if it's any different there. But
Yeah,
um,
well, Canada and Britain are the same. We share the Commonwealth, so I'm sure Canada's doing great.
hopefully, yeah. If they can't handle it, then there's no way the U.S. is also like
Yeah.
we use them as our meter to see, if they're not succeeding, then we're not succeeding either. But yeah, in the States, it's going fine. I know my grandparents just got it maybe like 2 weeks ago, so the first
Nice.
run. So yeah, it's happening. It's coming out. I'm hoping that we can speed this up in summertime, get some sort of familiarity or back to normal kind of feeling
Yeah.
like with events and stuff like that. And I'm hoping as fast as we can just move this along. So
Yeah. So how does that? Is it? I'm guessing in the on your ends, it's the like, is it by state? They sort of have their own
yeah.
way of doing things.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
have this allotment of COVID vaccines that then filter into the states, and they have to disperse it
Hmm.
accordingly. So it gets a little messy, but yeah, they are. It is happening. It's just a matter of. I
Mm.
think the issue right now is they don't have enough actual amount of vaccines to spread around. So that's the issue, just getting
Yeah.
enough vaccine out there. But yeah.
Yeah.
But Luke in the chat does say it's the same as a lot of places, 75 and older, and the first responders are the first to get it, but obviously limited supply. The variant news does worry me though. Yeah, so same here. There seems
Hmm.
like, but I think that the reality is that we're always going to be dealing with Corona from now on. There's going to be, different versions of it. Hopefully the vaccines we roll out every 2 years, maybe 3 years to kind of also
Yeah.
counteract that new variant of the virus. So I think it's just something that this is the new normal we're going to live with.
Yeah. But I mean, what's been quite interesting to follow as well is how when the vaccine first was rolled out, there wasn't any data, real data, to show how effective it was, and how people reacted to it. And now we're 3 or 4 months down the line, we actually have the data to show how effective it is, and all that's looking positive. It's looking like it's just as effective, if not more effective, than they predicted. And so yeah, I mean, I know that there's all this stuff about the different variants and that, but I think we've just got to try and stay positive, and try and take the good things out of these outrageous headlines and things that are trying to get us to click on them, and just try
Right.
and look at it positively, because it definitely, I know we've had this before when we came out of the first lockdown, but even if it is gonna even if we do end up going to like a third lockdown or whatever, I enjoyed coming out of lockdown last time. It was like a really nice positive thing. So I think you just got to take it as you can, really.
Yeah, I imagine it feels like what Fallout 3 when you finally come out of the vault and then just the sun hits
Yeah,
you for the first time. And you're just like, what is
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Now, Colin, I wanted to bring out before we get too far. Well, originally I wanted to talk about some conspiracy theories, but now right next to Corona, it seems weird. But this is a completely different one. So
Yeah.
you can put your tinfoil hats on. But me and my wife, I was telling you, we're watching this, going down the YouTube rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, and there's one about Princess Diana that I never realized. I don't know if you were even born when she actually died in what, 97.
Mhm.
But I was a kid, and I remember seeing that on the news. I didn't know who she was, but I knew it was a big deal because everyone was talking about it. But I thought it was just the paparazzi, what have you, was chasing too close. She unfortunately died in that tunnel, kind of in the
Mhm.
intersection, and it was a horrible situation. And then we were watching this documentary, or YouTube thing, talking about how I guess there was a lot of weirdness with her death, and I just never realized that. And you being from the UK, I wondered if you had any input. You're saying that you've never heard anything about this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know the basics of it. That she died in a car crash, and it's definitely in. I suppose how people when something traumatic happens in a country, everyone always uses it as like, oh, where were you when this kind of thing happened? So I definitely know it through just growing up. So I mean, I was born in '95, so I suppose I probably wasn't told about it when I was a kid, because it's not something you'd want to share. But I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I know of it just from being in Britain and everything. But I mean, unfortunately, I don't really take a huge. I love history and everything, but the modern royal family is not really something that I've really taken an interest in.
Yeah, I mean, same. There, at least with some of the details from that, and take it with a grain of salt. But some of the issues were that there's a lot of weirdness. So I guess the tunnel where her car crash happened, those they had cameras, but they unfortunately somehow were cut or didn't work at the time. So there's no footage of it. There's
Mm,
issues with them not being able to test her blood at the time. So they just didn't know what was in her system, if anything was present in her system. There's claims that other cars were involved to like crash them on purpose, because initially they thought that the driver was just drunk. I think they tested his alcohol level and it was like 3 times the limit. They thought that was
mm,
a huge issue. But there was also, I guess, there was a reason possibly for the family to try and get rid of her, because she was blowing up as far as a figure goes, and she was hooking up with this other well-known dude who was he was super rich. Man, I'm blowing this. He was super rich. He was Muslim. They were going to have a baby. Apparently, she might have been pregnant with this baby. They didn't like that she was straying so far away from the family. That's the
mm.
theory as to why they would do that in the first place. He also died in the car crash too. There's just it was a lot of strange stuff that I'd never realized, and it kind of adds up to like,
Yeah.
whoa, there might be something there, but who knows? It's always, you always have to take the stuff with a grain of salt. And it's easy to spin a lot of these stories with whatever perspective you want, but this one at least had some stuff like leaning and giving it some credibility. But I think we're I think we're both the same way, where we don't really follow a lot of these conspiracy things, but in this case there was enough there where it seemed like there might be some smoke to that fire.
Yeah, now you said it, I have seen. It was with Prince Harry, who recently sort of, you know, not excommunicated himself, but he just sort of left the sort of the sort of scene, because it is a very uh, theatrical thing, the royal family, and he's just sort of left that whole thing,
Right.
and And people were saying at the time, oh, he's going to end up like Princess Di and all this. And so yeah, I think I think there are probably quite a few people who do believe that, because I do remember now there were murmurs about Prince Harry suddenly ended up dead or something for doing what he did. I mean, he's alive, so obviously they haven't got him yet. But yeah, so I mean, the like you said, where there's smoke, there's fire. So it is quite strange that the cameras were off and everything. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just kind of strange, interesting story. But I know I don't know if in the UK there's other, weirdness, other like kind of strange conspiracy theories that people believe, or at least that float around. I know in the States we have plenty. One of the ones that always seemed like it had some like credibility or some interesting parts to it was the JFK assassination. There's a lot of weirdness with that one, which I don't remember like all the bullet points, but that's one that seems like there's something going on. But when you have so much time away from the event, then it just gets so muddy with like trying to pick the pieces, and put them back together.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost lost to history at that point if you get far enough away from it.
Yeah.
Nice, Callum. Well, besides me watching conspiracy theories at 2 a.m. or whatever, what you been playing? What you been up to?
I've been watching Hannah. Actually, I don't know if you've seen that on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's like the TV version of a movie, right?
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie or anything, but yeah, I've been watching the first series of that, and that's I'm on like episode 5, and it's been very slow up till then. It's still been good, but it's been really really slow build, but it's starting to sort of kick off, and apparently the second series is much improved in that sense of action. So yeah, I'm enjoying that, and I've actually been playing a lot of PS2 games. I've got a PS2 emulator. All sorted on my PC, and I've been playing all the old Dynasty Warriors games, which has been great. That then spurred me on to play some Total War 3 Kingdoms, which is one of those games I think, I'll just dip in and end up playing it till like 4 a.m.
Right.
So played a bit of that, but obviously we'll talk about Ratchet and Clank later, but mostly I've been playing Final Fantasy 12, which is the only Final Fantasy I haven't played. And yeah, I'm about 12 hours in, and yeah, really enjoying that.
Tell me about, so it's Final Fantasy 12 you're saying, right? So as we said before, I'm a Final Fantasy newbie, but how would you explain the gameplay, and as far as like how this is special compared to the other Final Fantasies, and where this, what this one means to you as far as playing that whole series?
Yeah, so I mean, like I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan. I've played all of the games, but I never played 12 because when it first came out, I really wasn't a fan at all of the combat system. I mean, it followed from 10 because 11 was an MMO, and 10 was actually the most traditional turn-based Final Fantasy since the first Final Fantasy game, and 12 was trying to mix that up a little bit, and yeah, it has a very strange combat system. It has a very strange, just general sort of party management system, and all these different things that make it quite hard to get on with. But the what I'm playing is the Zodiac Age or something, which is the remastered version through Xbox Game Pass, and because I'm a cheapskate and won't buy it on PlayStation, and it's actually much improved. I still have a problem with the combat system. It takes a lot of the input away from you and tries to make you set up all these like predetermined tactics for fights, which is cool because that is a system in most RPGs. Like Dragon Age Origins has a very in-depth tactic system where you can say to your party, if an ally is under 50% health, use this ability or whatever, and all of that. But what Final Fantasy does is it has that system, but it's locked away a lot of its accessibility in a shop, and it calls it the gambit system. So each gambit is basically a tactic. So you don't, unlike most RPGs where it's not a system, it's just something that's there for you to control your party. Final Fantasy 12 has turned it into something to make you have to really use it as a game mechanic, and that's quite interesting. And the other thing that the remaster's done is it's just sort of tidied up some certain progression things just to make it a bit more modern. And it's got a great soundtrack, which has been remastered. And they've added a fast forward button, which is really, really nice because the combat is very slow and doesn't require a lot of input. It's nice to be able to grind and just put it on times 2 or times 4 speed. And it really makes just the long linear traveling parts much more bearable as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm finding it hard to put it down. The story is not great for Final Fantasy standards, but it's still very enticing and has interesting characters and really interesting settings and things like that. So it's enticing, but it's you know it's an okay story in itself. But yeah, it's a great game, and I'm happy that I'm finally playing through it, and I'm happy I'll be able to talk about it after I finish it, and yeah, it's really enjoying myself.
Now, you mentioned the fast forwarding with the combat. Explain that to me, because it seems like you wouldn't be able to adjust or to manipulate your moves while you're fast forwarding. But how does that component work?
So the combat is basically you control one character, and then the rest of them run by either your gambits, which you set up. You tell them exactly how to act, or you can turn off their gambits and they'll just be AI. But and that just happens. You can move around, make sure you're in range, but your character just automatically attack. But when you press circle, you open up a menu, which is where you can access your abilities. You can tell someone to attack if they weren't attacking. You can access your items and everything. So it has that turn-based menu, and when you bring that up, it pauses the game. So when you're fast forwarding it, if you see that your health's going down, you can just press circle, and it will pause the game, and you can use your menu, and then it's fine. So it works really well, and the fast forward is just a tap of L1 as well. So it's really, really easy to access, and because it's baked into the game as well, it doesn't affect audio or anything like that. So it flows really well. But yeah, it's a really nice thing to have it in it, because it's an older game, so it is quite slow and things take a while sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially it's a classic Final Fantasy thing to grind sometimes. If you're under leveled, or if you've made a mistake with your job, you might have to grind to get more XP to sort of choose the correct path or whatever. So it makes that much nicer and easier, and it's actually in most of the remasters, like the Final Fantasy 7, 8 and 9 remaster will have fast forward as well, just to try and make them a bit more accessible.
Gotcha. Does this one does it take place in this kind of castle-like setting for the majority of the game, or are the levels pretty, do they change from level to level?
Yeah, I mean, you go to all sorts of places. It's a very political landscape.
Mm,
There's empires and all of that, but no, the settings are great. There's lots of variety. You start off in the city, which is in the desert, and you go to like a floating city, and there's lots of like dungeons and mines and caves and
mm.
things. And the place I'm at the moment is more lush fields and meadows and things. So it's got a good variety, and it's definitely a good Final Fantasy game in that respect. Its setting's really cool, and it definitely keeps you sort of it keeps a variation going in its settings.
Gotcha. Does it have do you get the boys together in a cross country road trip though in this one, or how does that? Because that's all I know about
Yeah,
the recent ones. It always stuck in my mind, where it's like, what the hell's going
yeah,
on?
yeah. That was what the hell is going on. Is exactly how I felt playing Final Fantasy 15 as well. It is a bizarre game, but but yeah, it's. I mean, it's funny because 12 and 15 are the ones I've always not really liked. I love all the others. I know that a lot of Final Fantasy fans are very divisive over quite a lot of them, but I think they're all amazing. Um, it looks like now it's just 15 that I don't like, because it used to be 12 and 15, but I'm actually enjoying 12. So I think I might give 15 another shot after this and see. But that's a game I played not too long ago, and I don't think that's something that I will ever enjoy really.
I see. Gotcha. Nice. Do you think you're pretty close to beating this, or you're just kind of early on in it?
Yeah, very early on, I think. I think it's about 60 hours long on average, and yeah, I'm about 12 or 13 in. So I mean, they're all marathon games. Um, so yeah, I'm looking for. It's always nice playing a Final Fantasy game because you know that there's like a part in most JRPGs actually, probably about 10 hours in, where the game really starts, like it proper opens up. You know
Mm,
everything. The difficulty proper kicks in. Um, and that's when the game really is amazing, and that's why JRPGs can be quite hard to get into because they are very slow, very just repetitive, but then it does eventually open up and become something amazing. um, so it's always nice playing a Final Fantasy game because you know you're going to get a lot of hours out of it, and you know that
right.
it's really going to be a great experience if you sort of buckle yourself in.
Gotcha. Were you ever very hard into Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, I actually I never really used to like Kingdom Hearts, but I played them on PlayStation 4 uh, in the last 2 years maybe, and I absolutely loved the first Kingdom Hearts. It's one of the best action RPGs you'll ever play. I mean, it still holds up today. Its combat is so deliberate and really great. And Kingdom Hearts 2 is good as well. And there's a really great spin-off Kingdom Hearts called Birth by Sleep as well, which has a really good combat. Um, but yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 they're all good, but the third one isn't very good. But
Mm.
yeah, the Kingdom Hearts game's great. They're really really good if you can get past the extremely cringy and convoluted story.
Yeah, it's it's especially for someone who doesn't know much about, let alone Final Fantasy, but also why are these worlds colliding. But I remember when
Yeah.
I want to say it came out during that PS2 era. It seemed really cool. I love that they were at least trying
Mm.
to merge these two properties together. It seems to work. It's just there's also
Mm.
that cringiness and weirdness to it. But yeah, it's a
The,
unique
the,
idea.
the first game is fantastic. It's honestly, it's not even that like cringe. The story's really good in it, and the characters are great, and it plays really well. It's the first Kingdom Hearts is a real great game. But then Kingdom Hearts 3 is just that's like it's been getting towards that kind of game throughout it.
Mm.
And Kingdom Hearts 3 is just that sort of, it's just a step too far. It's very, yeah, it's not enjoyable.
Some games recently. I'm gonna clear my throat just a second.
That made it worse.
I made sure and muted my mic, but didn't catch that all. Something about your face, it just makes me
Yeah.
want to vomit. I don't know what
Makes
it
you want to
is.
throw up.
But I did want to give some time to talk about Elysia, so I played that yesterday, and I'm
Mm.
really digging it. So this came out last week. It's this newer indie game. I forget the name of the dev, but I know it's published by the Devolver Digital, and it's really cool. It's this 16-bit or like pixelated style gameplay, and it's very actiony and just super cool, really unique, story and art style, and it's just got a ton of character to it. But you have this staff that's like the main part of this game. You have this spear rather that you can throw and then summon back to you, just like say God of War, the recent God of War, and it just feels super satisfying to throw it at enemies. You can latch onto them. So sort of like Doom, the recent Doom, where you have that shotgun that lets you latch on enemies from
Mm.
across the map. So this lets you do that as well. You can traverse the world with that spear at the same time. So it's just really fast and just very fun gameplay. It's very much like a sort of like a Castlevania style, but like just on speed. Like it's really really responsive and super
Yeah.
cool. The story, they don't tell you much about what's going on. You kind of have to start to piece it together, but it's really unique and mysterious, and you want to know what's going on from the get go. The
Mm.
enemies are really unique with how they're designed. The world is beautiful too. I'm just really digging it. I'm a sucker for this style of game, and this is just nailing it for me. But I don't know if you've seen any footage or had any interest in this game at all.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. It looks great. I mean, there's so many great 2D, castle, Metroidvania kind of games now. Um, and it's just such a good time to be a fan of that kind of game because you'll just never run out of great stuff to play. One of my favorites, I don't know if you've played it, is Salt and Sanctuary, which is like a 2D Dark Souls game.
No.
And is just, I mean, it's completely inspired by Dark Souls, and it's not, afraid to show that. But it is, yeah. I mean, if you're a fan of 2D Metroidvania games, I 100% recommend it. It's a really great game.
I'm checking out footage now. Yeah, it looks really cool. It definitely gives me
Yeah.
that Dark Soul vibe. Is it as brutal as Dark Souls, or how's the gameplay kind of translate?
Um, I think because it's two dimensional, it's a bit more learnable more quickly. So, because I mean, what I found with the Souls games, I mean, they are hard, but they're learnable, and that's why they're great games because they're designed to be learnable. And but I think having the three dimensions just offers so much more, you know, chances to make a mistake or to die. So yeah, so I think it's definitely as hard. I'd say that you're definitely going to struggle, but it's you'll get good quicker at it. I'd say,
Gotcha.
and all of the classes are really great as well. You can play as like a mage, which is more of a ranged class as well, which can be interesting. But yeah, I definitely recommend that if you're in a 2D game mood.
I am for sure. This has definitely got me in that mood. Yeah, I'm really digging it. I want to keep playing and just get through the story and figure out what the hell's going on. I know there's some issues with the replayability. Apparently, it tries to offer that, but I guess it just doesn't nail it. I know IGN, that was one of their big issues with the game, but it's still
Mm.
across the board has some pretty strong reviews. So I'm
Yeah,
super
nice.
interested.
Yeah.
Gonna keep playing that. So we did play some games. One of the games we both played was Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty. So it's Ratchet and Clank Future Quest for Booty. It's the second in that series of future
Mhm.
games. But I really dug it. So let's transition into our book club talk for the week. I just got to get this thing ready to go.
Need a theme song.
We do need a theme song, which we do not have. You can work on that in the time being. Awesome. So we got
I,
the
I just have the countdown tune in my head.
for the for the trivia.
Yeah.
We can just keep that going. Yeah. So we got the PlayStation L2R2 book club. This week we got to play Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty. So overall, we can give our thoughts. I know I really dug it. It was a very short experience. You know, it's about 3-4 hours
Mhm.
maybe, and it's one entry in that long line of future games for the PS3. I really enjoyed my time with it. There were some wonkiness, points to like the traversal or the platforming in the later areas where you're in a cave. I just died over and over again. But overall, I really dug this game. How did you feel about playing Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty?
Yeah, I think it's proof that short games are just sometimes better than long games because this is so this is just paced beyond like perfection, super over designed and polished, and only because it is such a small experience. I mean, every single level is like really nicely set out, and it has that classic Ratchet and Clank exploration where you'll have like 4 different routes to go, and each one you'll have to go down and get the thing you need or turn on the windmill you need to or whatever, and it just nails the amazing exploration that Ratchet and Clank has, but it just puts it on such a smaller scale, so they're able to completely control, the pacing of the game, and yeah, and I know you're saying about the cave bits. I actually really enjoyed those bits. I think they were quite unique to the game because there's not many parts like that in Ratchet and Clank. Um, and I thought those bits were really cool. I thought it was quite hard as well, especially when the ghost pirates first turn up and you've got it felt like you have to I mean, I was just running past them in the end in the cave. I felt like I just needed to get out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really great game, and I think luckily I had the context that it was going to be short before because I played it after you did, because it is so good that I can imagine you feeling kind of let down that it ends so early. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game, and it's made me really excited to play the rest because I haven't played any of the future series. I've played Tools of Destruction, but I haven't played any of them after that.
Yeah, same. I was pretty impressed by. So I initially started the game last weekend and had my nephew over who's about 10, 11, and he was I wanted to get his take on if the gameplay, if the puzzle mechanics were like simple enough for him to start to wrap his brain around
Mm.
it, and they were. That I loved how intuitive everything was. Where he was, it was easy for him to try and to try different things out. So like say there's some barriers or like doors that you can't open unless you throw the little explosive
Mm.
glowing magma deals into. And you started to figure out, oh, okay, I can destroy this by throwing that, and just playing around with the mechanics. And I was impressed by the fact that he was able to pick it up. I think that's just a testament to Insomniac, the way
Mm.
they build these games where it's enjoyable for, all different age groups. And so whether you're young or old, you can understand what's going on, and it's still challenging for both, types
Yeah,
of gamers.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think it's such a mainstay for a reason, and the PS4 Ratchet and Clank is just excellent as well, and it really is one of the best, 3D platformers that you can get. It's one of the last true ones. Like the first Jack and Daxter, or games like that. And the reason it's the last one left is because it does it better than any other game does. And
Right.
yeah, it's really impressive. And I think the fact it is shorter, it lets that be on show even more, because they can just be so in control of the pacing and what's happening in the moment to moment gameplay and everything. So yeah, it is great. And I thought the story was so like charming and funny as well.
Right.
It was narrated by that Pete guy, and it was spot on. The humor was great, and you can tell that the reason it's a mini adventure is because obviously at the end of Tools of Destruction, Clank gets taken by those Zoni. So this is obviously setting up Ratchet without Clank and the
Right.
start to a cracking time, which is cool, because that was another thing as well, is how you don't have Clank with you, but that allows them to give this game some unique aspects to it as well that the other Ratchet and Clank games don't have.
Yeah, no, I really dug that component. Just not having Clank there, and just kind of forcing you to be on your own, but still having access to at least the weapons, which I think are such a strong aspect to these games, and just Insomniac in general. They're masters at these unique guns with weird abilities that are just fun no matter what. Like one of their other games that was I would love to see come to PS3, but I think it was published by or PlayStation, but I think it was published by Microsoft. But that's Sunset Overdrive, and that's one thing
Mm.
they nailed as well, where the gunplay is just so interesting and fun and wacky.
Yeah.
And with these Ratchet games, it's the same thing, where I want to experiment with each gun I get, and they all have their own character and just like different abilities, and it just keeps, along with the traversal, the platforming, the gunplay is so strong too, and I felt that in this one as well.
Yeah, and going back to Insomniac, and saying how this is a game that isn't really around anymore, but they're still making it like it used to be, like the old games used to be. And that's a vibe I got from Sunset Overdrive as well. Is it reminded me of like Tony Hawk's Underground, and where it's just about getting fun missions from strange, quirky characters, and then just doing these stupid missions and having fun whilst doing it. And I think Insomniac are just great at realizing, what they're making. They're making a game, and it needs to be fun. And we've been playing games for so many years now that there's no reason why they can't use the formula that got us into games in the first place still, and they show that they do and still can.
Yeah, they're really the masters at platforming at this type of adventure game, and it's a bummer you don't see many developers continue on with this style. But maybe it's just the world is now shooters or third person action games, and it's just kind of a genre that definitely needs some more attention. But of course, that's why they're also working on Ratchet and Clank, the newer one coming out in June or July rather, and so they're picking up the mantle again, and showing that these games are still fun, still have a bunch of life to them. And I like the idea of also picking up this genre years later when no one else is really tackling it, and adding some newer quality of life stuff that the whole industry has, moved forward with, adding that into this platforming style of game, and just kind of merging those worlds together. It's just, I can't wait to see again what they do with that newest Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, and it's really cool that, because I assumed straight away that the new Ratchet and Clank would be a sequel to the reboot. So I assumed that they were just taking this whole reboot series and going with that, but it's a sequel to Into the Nexus,
Right.
the latest Ratchet and Clank future game. So they obviously aren't done there, and they've still got something to tell there, and they're just getting better and better at telling stories as well. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. It's going to be just obviously, as all their games are, you know, a master class of that genre. They've never, in my opinion anyway, they've never misfired on what they were trying to do. So yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to play the Ratchet and Clanks I've missed and that we're going to be playing, and yeah, I can't wait for the new one as well.
I would love to see with the Insomniac. They're such a big team now, and they have quite a bit of funding now from Sony with that acquisition from them. So I wonder if they can break off a small chunk of the team to just work on Ratchet and Clank remasters, because this future series would be dope to see upgraded to PS5 or PS4. I'd love to see them just start to go through the history of Ratchet and Clank, bring those all back, but still also having their separate team work on the new iterations of Ratchet.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a series that could just have has so much potential, and it would be nice because I mean the first three obviously had their HD trilogy on PS3 and Vita, but that could come to PS4. They did it with the first three Jak and Daxters. I mean the first three Ratchet and Clanks play far better than at least Jak 2 and 3 do. So I think they could easily be remastered and ported to PS4.
Yeah, the Jak series is another series I want to see come back, get some love from Naughty Dog. But do you think there's any potential to see Naughty Dog, or at least let them have another team work on, at the very least, like remastering those, bringing those to current gen?
I don't know, because I have a weird sort of relationship with Jak and Daxter, in that the first Jak and Daxter game is one of my favorite games of all time. Similarly, for the reason for Ratchet and Clank, it's just a perfect adventure game, amazing platform and really fun exploration. Very, very similar to Ratchet in a way, it just doesn't have all the weapons. And then Jak 2 and 3 followed a more GTA kind of vibe and completely changed the characters and the set and the theme and everything, and it just wasn't what I loved the series for. So for me, I'm happy with the PS4 remaster of the Jak series, because I think that I mean, I think Jak 2 and 3 are objectively good games. I just didn't like that direction. So, but yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see another Jak and Daxter game. I just hope it'd be in the vein of the first game rather than the second and third.
Now, quick trivia, call back to our PlayStation trivia we had a couple weeks ago. Do you remember the species name for the Daxter character?
He's an Ottsel.
Yes, nice, nailed it.
Yeah. And also, that's actually funny you say it, because when I booted up Quest for Booty, I was thinking, God, I haven't played Tools of Destruction in years. I got that trivia question wrong about Ratchet's home planet. I'm not going to remember anything. And then when it sort of did that opening and I saw like the characters, I remembered everything. Like I remembered the end Tools of Destruction. I remembered it was just like it just unlocked for me. So that was quite nice, because I was worried I'd have to like watch a recap video or something.
Right.
But yeah, no, I remembered the sort of ending story to Tools of Destruction, because luckily it's not the most complicated story.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited to keep playing these and to dig deeper into the Ratchet and Clank franchise, and kind of, because I've never really played the original, so it'd be cool to really get an understanding of these and get ready for the release of the newest Ratchet and Clank. I am blanking on that name on the newest Ratchet and Clank for PS5.
Is it something about Rifts Apart?
Yeah, right, there you go.
Yeah. I kept forgetting what it was called as well, because I think it's something because of Into the Nexus, that
same
feels like that's yeah.
Keep putting
so there's
Nexus
something going
in
on there, because we can't both be having that problem. So there's something wrong with that. That's not our fault.
Yeah, their marketing team needs to work on that.
Yeah, even though Rifts Apart is nothing like Into the Nexus.
For the two dummies out there, we got to change the name.
Yeah.
Well, Cal, we'll end our PlayStation Book Club talk there for the week, and we'll tackle the next Ratchet and Clank game possibly on the next episode. But we can get into some of the news here, Callum. We got some stuff stacking up. Not a crazy amount of news, but we got some things happening in the PlayStation world. This first one actually isn't really in the PlayStation world, but I wanted to get your take on this Mortal Kombat trailer. Have you seen this Mortal Kombat trailer?
I have, yeah. It looks a lot of fun. It looks
right.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to cue it up.
I like the original. I like the original film.
Me too. Same.
Because it's just like it's fun. It's funny. Like Mortal Kombat is is bad, but in a good way. So the film's going to be like that. But
Yeah, if you want to queue it up, we'll just talk over it. But yeah, no,
yeah,
same. Where I love the wackiness, the cringiness of that first one. I thought was really cool. But also in that context of that time period when it came out, there just wasn't a lot of video game movie adaptation. So it was nuts to see the stuff on the big screen, and it had issues for sure. The second one was definitely just was just crap. But it's cool to see them really bring this back to life and do an honest, try at a Mortal Kombat movie. And this seems,
yeah,
at least with the trailer, it seems like they're nailing it.
yeah, yeah. It looks cool. It looks really fun, and the characters look really sort of well cast and everything as well. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. I don't really know how it can be unenjoyable, to be honest. Just seeing the characters fighting will be enough for me.
Right. And they seem to be nailing the gore and the bloodiness. It's like you have to have that's a staple of the franchise. So you have to have that first movie, the first two really didn't really attempt that, but it was also a product of the 90s where but now at this
Yeah.
time we're past like the whole Saw era of like
Mm.
crazy gory movies where it's like you can do that now in movies. And as long as they do it in a fun way, because sometimes those newer Mortal Kombat's got so photorealistic, it was almost hard
Yeah.
to watch those gory scenes because it looked like a real person getting torn apart. So hopefully they bring some of the campiness to these scenes and not make it so like horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm sure it's going to be good. I mean, it just looks like a good, production value as well. And yeah, in fact, I'm really excited for the Uncharted movie as well, and the Last of Us thing now. I've been converted to video game movies, TV series for some reason. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
Also, when Sub-Zero makes a guy bleed by like cutting off his arm, grabs that blood and then stabs him with it, it's like I'm on board already. Take my money.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I did find myself missing that original like theme song, from the first movie. It's like that
Mm.
techno beat going. It's like they got to have that in this.
They've got something in there, don't they? They've got like maybe at the end or throughout the trailer that I'm pretty sure it like resembles
Okay.
the soundtrack in a more cinematic way.
I need that same song. Like I gotta you gotta have that same song. It's just such a staple for me in Mortal Kombat movies. It's like it's got to be there. But yeah, I'm digging it. I'm excited, and this one is also cool because it's coming to streaming platforms at the same day it's going to theaters. So it's going to HBO Max day and day with theaters, so I can stay home watch these. I really want more movies to do that now. It's like now it's a product of these Corona times where like they have to do that to survive. But I'm down for that. Like most people have a pretty dope movie setup, like a decent TV. So it's like I think some movies I'm fine with watching at home, and this is one where I'm especially fine watching it at home.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. I mean, most TVs now are just as good as cinemas, and sound systems
Right.
are great and everything. I mean, I watch most if I'm watching like a film or a series that I'm really like into. I'll just put my headphones on anyway, and that's my preferred way of watching because it's just noise cancelled out and straight in your eardrums. It's exactly what you need.
Yeah. So we'll see if this movie actually, fulfills on at least the trailer. But
Yeah,
I think you just kind of have to turn off your brain a little bit and you'll have fun with this and
yeah,
it'll be fine.
yeah.
All right, Cal, we got the next one here is some interesting news on Silent Hill. So we got Blooper Team hints it could be working on Silent Hill, but it's not the only one. So this is from Andy Robinson of VideoGamesChronicle.com. The Medium developer Blooper Team has said it's working on an existing horror IP from a very famous gaming publisher, fueling speculation it could be reviving Konami Silent Hill. While the studio has not revealed the identity of the franchise it's working on, Blooper Team CEO Piotr Bibieno told GI.biz he believed it would cause quite a stir once it's revealed. However, VGC understands that Konami has already outsourced a Silent Hill project to a prominent Japanese developer with a reveal due this summer. If Blooper Team is also working on Silent Hill, something our sources were unable to confirm, then that would mean that 2 franchise reboots are in the works, which is something that industry insiders have suggested could be Konami's intention. Oh boy. How do you feel about Blooper Team possibly handling this and just overall the idea of Konami finally letting Silent Hill, have some breath on with these other developers?
Yeah, I think Bloober Team would be an amazing shout to take it on. I think they've proven themselves time and time again, and the games have just been getting better. I mean, the medium was just absolutely brilliant. So I think they're definitely ready for that AAA space. I mean, I suppose the medium is maybe could be classed as AAA, but Silent Hill definitely is. So, but I think they're definitely ready, and I think they deserve it, and they could make something really great. And yeah, I mean, 2 reboots is maybe a weird way to put it, because maybe it's the same reboot franchise but 2 games or something. Because I mean, they've got a lot of catching up to do if they want to try and compete with Resident Evil.
Right.
So maybe they're just making 2 games so that they can. I mean, I'm not saying that they'll come out at the same time necessarily, but maybe they could come out like 6 months between each other or a year between each other, like Resident Evil 2 and 3. But yeah, that would be awesome if Bloober Team had been given that opportunity.
Do you think with the 2 possible entries, could it actually be they're following that Capcom formula where it's one remaster and then a new entry, and they're just kind of going back and forth? I would love to see these original games brought back to life
Yeah,
with like a newer engine.
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, they could have one of them doing a remaster and one of them doing an actual, you know, uh, new game, because that would make perfect sense. So yeah, I mean that actually probably makes the most sense, thinking about it. But yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see Silent Hill come back.
Now, Konami still, I want to say they own the rights to that Fox engine that Metal Gear Solid 5 was used on. And that's why, they had to use that, they had to build not the Decima
Mm-hmm.
engine. It was that newly built engine for Death Stranding. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it was Decima. Yeah, it was like a modified
Yeah,
version
they
of
use
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that Fox engine is locked to Konami. So I think with that engine, it's crazy beautiful to see that used possibly for Silent Hill could be awesome. I don't know how hard that is to do with these different things
I
going on.
think I think that they're moving to Unreal only because PES, their football game, runs on Fox, and that is the next game that they're doing. Like their next gen version is being made on Unreal.
Gotcha.
So whether or not that means that they're shifting everything over to that, I'm not sure, but it would make sense. I mean, Unreal has made huge strides recently, and I don't think the Fox engine is that great, to be honest. It's very bespoke to Metal Gear Solid,
I see.
to the point where the animations in PES look a bit stiff and strange. So yeah, I think hopefully they'll be moving everything to Unreal. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could still make it look nice in Fox, and it's not like they're fast-paced games. It doesn't
Right.
need to have anything too special.
Yeah. Also, what would be dope if they kept following that Capcom formula, if they did a PSVR, some kind of VR version of Silent Hill, that could be horrible and amazing at the same time.
That could be great for some people,
Yeah.
but that's not something I would play.
Yeah. Same. All right, Con, we do have some more news with Konami. So this one here is from pushsquare.com. Rumor Konami to outsource Metal Gear Solid Castlevania IPs. This is Liam Croft of pushsquare.com. In a claim that builds upon comments made earlier by Blooper Team that it's working on a new horror game with a very famous gaming publisher, Video Games Chronicle has updated story with the assertion that Japanese publisher Konami plans to outsource its Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania franchises for other developers to use. Any new entries in the 2 series are years away for now, but bosses at the company are said to be more open to the idea of letting external teams work on the IPs following the poor performances of Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Survive, and Contra Rogue Corps. VGC states this change in heart is what has allowed the Silent Hill franchise to be developed by a prominent Japanese developer. I'm hoping this is the turn of events, and this is the new future, because Konami has such awesome properties that they're sitting on. And so, how do you feel about them possibly letting these other teams work on their coveted franchises?
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I mean, I like to think that I'm a well-traveled gamer, that I've played most big series, but Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania, both series I haven't got into.
Mm,
So it's not. I understand that that's great for fans of that series because they're both huge. Especially Castlevania, I think with the Netflix thing as well. That there's a resurgence of new fans and people to that IP. So that could be a really great one. But Metal Gear Solid, I mean, I don't know, it's such a weird game and weird story and weird just everything about it that I don't even know how to feel, because I don't know whether it's a good thing that they're going to make another one, whether people would want that. It's just such a strange game with it's just very odd to me, especially as someone who has no idea what it's about. Because I know that most people who have played them all don't know what it's about. So I just don't really know how to. I don't know whether that's a good thing that this is happening or whether people are mad about it.
You're right about the weirdness is key to the Metal Gear franchise, where that's what is a lot of the character is at the heart of, is that the fact that it's so weird. There's this crazy story going on that overlaps, that doesn't quite make sense, but then has a payoff at the end. Then you also have the awesome mechanics. I love the series itself, but they're a very strange game, and they're really a product of Kojima and his insane artistic brain. So it's like, if you were to now that you have him out of the mix, what does that future look like if they were to do new entries in that franchise? As you mentioned, the weirdness with Metal Gear Solid, I think the only team currently that could handle matching the gameplay with the weirdness is maybe Remedy. So with Control, that's also a super weird game, but they nail the controls, they nail the gameplay and the really unique elements in the story. I feel like if you gave it to Remedy, they could do something super awesome with this.
Yeah, I think there's lots of places that could do a good Metal Gear game. I mean, especially from someone who, I've played a few of them. I just haven't connected with them for whatever
Yeah.
reason. So, from that perspective, I could see, lots of studios doing a great job with this. I mean, it's established characters, established sort of um, type of game and vision. So yeah, I think it's it could be done elsewhere. I just don't know. Unfortunately, it's just one of the things that I just don't know whether what the fans think about this, or
Right.
whether they've been asking for a new Metal Gear or anything. It's just not something I'm aware of.
Yeah, same here. Where that community is so passionate for that series, where if Kojima's not on board, they might just ban or riot at any attempt to jump back into the series. So I'm not sure. It could go either way, but I would love to see it have a new studio tackle it. I just don't know who's the right fit for it, but I think that series is primed to, like, if not reboot it, have other stories being told within there for sure. Alrighty, Callum, we got the next one here is some speculation on Horizon Zero Dawn possibly having a VR spinoff. So, job listings renew speculation regarding virtual reality Horizon spinoff. This is Sammy Barker of PushSquare.com. Fire Sprite, the studio behind PlayStation VR, surprisingly enjoyable survival horror roguelite The Persistence, is recruiting a string of new staff for a VR action adventure project adapted from one of the most original and successful multi-million selling console IP titles in the last 10 years. That is their huge quote there. Previous job listings have referred to a multi-million selling action RPG and specifically referenced PSVR. While there are no further details in the description, it was rumored over a year ago that Sony was exploring the possibility of a Horizon Zero Dawn spin-off built within virtual reality. Whatever the case, the Firesprite job listings are vague enough that they could be attributed to a dozen other franchises. So there's not a whole lot to grab onto. It's more of a possibility speculation, but how'd you feel just at large of Horizon having this VR spin-off? Do you think it could work in PSVR?
Yeah, I think it is very. There's a lot to take in aesthetically, I think, in that world. So yeah, I think any world that's rich with environment and things to see, I think they always work well in VR. I mean, I think you've always got to make sure that a VR game's put in a setting where if you were just to sit there and not have any input, it would still be interesting. And I think Horizon is that. I mean, you've got the big long robot guys who walk around, and you got the prehistoric modern cities, which are all ruins and everything. And yeah, I think that could work really really well, and especially considering that technology like VR is a thing in that world, in that game. Where she's
Sure.
got the thing where she can see the the old cities overlay the real life. So yeah, I think it's perfect for it.
Now, I do have some worries that if this is the actual, property they want to tackle with VR, with PSVR, anyways, it's such a graphical powerhouse. I wonder if PSVR can handle it. And so they have to do some kind of scaling and really draw back the distances, the detail. They'd have to make it work and be really custom made for PSVR because this game is just so just demanding. So I don't know if VR can handle it. There's also a lot of
Yeah,
movement in the game, so it'd have to be a really kind of unique experience in that world. I don't know if you'd necessarily be taken over as the main character, but if you could walk around and somewhat explore with some kind of combat mechanics that are, simplified, it could be really dope. But they'd have to really bring that scale down a bit because it's just such a beautiful, detailed world.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I doubt they'd do something open world or like you said, to that scale. And because I think the PlayStation VR has proven it's pretty good. Like with like Resident Evil 7 as well. That looked great on there, and so yeah, I think like you said, if they scale it down and have something a bit more personal and more a bit less kinetic, then I think that there could be something really interesting there.
Maybe a simulation that just lets you pet the robot dinosaurs, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
brush their hair or something.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Or you're just mowing the grass, the highly detailed grass in the world, and you get to look up and
Yeah,
see all this cool stuff.
yeah,
Or braid her hair. I forget the main character's name. You can just braid her hair or something.
yeah, yeah.
That could be
Yeah,
cool.
what is her name? Aloy.
There you
Aloy,
go.
that's it.
Aloy, yes. But yeah, that's possible, and we'll see what happens with that. But a lot of speculation, not a whole lot to go on to or grab onto. But it'd be interesting if they tackle that franchise. We'll see if that's what they end up doing. This next one here, Callum, is some Turok news. I don't know if you're a big Turok fan. I do love me some Turok. PlayStation Store has listed Turok 1 and 2 for release next week. This is from Zarmina Khan of PlayStationLifestyle.net. According to PlayStation Store listing spotted by Gamatsu, both Turok Dinosaur Hunter and Turok 2 Seeds of Evil were released on February 25th. At the time of this writing, the game pages are only visible to us via the PlayStation app. Nevertheless, the pages are there, and a trophy list was discovered last year, so rest assured we'll get our hands on the 1997 and 98 classics soon. According to the PS Store, both Turok 1 and 2 are enhanced for the PS4 Pro. Turok 2's description states that it supports up to 16 players online and features remastered locations. Both Turok 1 and 2 are already out on the Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Do you have any interest in this series, Cal? Are you too young for this? What do you think about Turok?
Yeah, I played the first Turok on PS1, and yeah, it was. I remember it being really scary and really hard. But they're very old, so I don't actually know if I'd be keen to play play them. Because it's I like when I played Duke Nukem Forever. No, not Duke Nukem Forever. Sorry, Duke Nukem 3D.
Mm,
The PS4 remaster. It was fun, but it's just so old that it's just frustrating and weird. And I
right.
think Turok's a very similar kind of style game. So, but maybe I mean, if it's, I'm sure it'll probably be quite cheap. So I might jump into it. Might see what the platinum trophy's like.
Yeah, true. I mean, these games they're definitely, locked in this era. And I remember playing this on Nintendo 64 and I loved it, but it was also during that time. So now with the, advancements and movements with first person shooters, do the controls carry over? Probably not. I don't know what they're really adding as far as like quality of life stuff with the movement. So if they can, make this playable to at least what we're used to with first person shooters, then this could be dope. I just really dug the world and the weird weapons, and your this what native person that's
Yeah,
are you kidnapped, or I'm thinking of maybe Prey. I'm merging those two worlds together, but you're at least travel dimensions and then have to fight these dinosaurs and like crazy aliens and stuff. But I really dug the one thing I dug was the animations in this game. I think they still hold up with like the characters running at you and how you can kind of shoot them in the neck
it's
and they'll
like
react.
Serious Sam a little bit.
What was that?
It's a bit like Serious Sam. It reminds me of
Yes.
yeah, the Sam games. They're it's the same kind of just run and gun kind of game.
It is very, yeah, it's very much that rinse repeat kind of thing. But I just love the weight to the animations with the characters, and just the way they'd react, almost like dynamically to where you shot them and the way they'd stop and the momentum they had. But the gunplay was also, that was the big thing bringing people to these games. But I never really got to play the multiplayer component. But yeah, it's interesting. I would love to. Hopefully, these are updated enough to be playable. I know they are on Xbox One and on Switch, so you can play these now. And so I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I'd love to get the trophies on this thing and keep it tied to my, ecosystem of choice.
Yeah, yeah. Trophies are always the ones to entice you in. For
Yes.
me, anyway.
Oh yeah. Same here. Alrighty, Calum. So we got that one going on. We'll get some news soon. So this next one here is just an update on last week. Last week we talked about the joystick drift, and iFixit, the very popular YouTube channel, broke down a little bit on what's going on and they have some details and kind of figured out what the heart of the reason it's going on, like why this is so prominent and how it's really going to affect other console manufacturers as well. So this is from their YouTube page. I just watched the video, took some notes, so these are straight from my brain here, but this is PS5 joystick drift explained in detail by iFixit. So the hugely popular YouTube channel iFixit recently posted a video breaking down what's going on behind joystick drift. The iFixit crew lays out how it's not just Nintendo's problem, or more recently Sony's, but everybody's problem, as all three big console manufacturers use the same joystick component in their controllers. The joysticks used in the PS5, PS4, Xbox, current last gen, and Nintendo Switch with the Pro Controller as well, all come from joystick manufacturer Alps. The ticking time bomb linking all three console manufacturers together are potentiometers at the heart of each joystick. These mechanical components within the joystick transfer analog movement into digital input and wear out over time. Alps claims the potentiometer lifespan is around 2 million cycles. iFixit estimated that this equates to around 400 hours of playing Call of Duty Warzone. That 400-hour estimate will vary with games that require more or less joystick abuse during time. So I would employ everyone to go to that YouTube channel and check it out. They go into high detail. They also go into detail on how to actually fix the joystick components, or replace them rather. It's very interesting, but it seems like across the board, a lot of these manufacturers, these console manufacturers, use the same joystick components. So it's all the same stuff that they get from the company Alps. So it's interesting that it might not be, PS5 having this issue. Other players could have this with whatever console they're playing with. How do you feel about this, Callum? I know I haven't experienced this on PS4 really, or even my Xbox controller. So, and I've yet to experience this on PS5 too. But how do you feel about all this digesting all this news?
Yeah, like you said, I've never had drift on an analog. I mean, I used to get broken analogs on my PS3 controllers, but it was more physical, like they would twist around or whatever.
Oh,
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I can't speak for this issue because I've never had it, and I mean, I don't play multiplayer games really, but I play a lot of PlayStation, and even on my PC, I use my DualShock 4 sometimes, and yeah, I haven't had any issues with a DualShock 4 controller, Xbox controller, or my DualSense yet. So hopefully, it's just for people who play, twitchy shooters and flick out their thumbs too strong or something. I don't know.
the sweats, as my nephews call them, when they're too sweaty on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because if all these different console manufacturers are using the same joysticks, then it seems like the drift thing would be across the board. But really, the biggest thing that's got attention lately is PS5, and then really Switch. Although with Switch, I can totally understand it happening to Switch because I mean I've had it happen on my Switch, but I throw mine in a backpack often without a protective cover, so that those sticks are just getting mangled around. With my actual controllers that I leave on the desk or on the table, it's like those really never have any drift. So I wonder if it's related to how hard you use it and how you store it, how you take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, it must be because I've had a lot of DualShock 4s and a lot of them have broken, but mostly because I always tried fiddling with them or breaking their batteries by plugging them into the wall or something.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I've never had drift or anything. So, and I, like you said, I don't take my controllers around anywhere really. I just leave them face up, and
right.
I make sure I don't throw them or leave them lying around or anything. So maybe that factors into it as well. But I mean, if Alps themselves have claimed that it has a lifespan of around 400 hours of Call of Duty, I mean that's a lot of time, but a lot of people put those hours into that game. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to see some more info on this because I know this has been all over the news lately. The PS5 drift, and there's a class action lawsuit of something going on. Um, they do in that same iFixit video. They talk about the options you have, so you can replace the actual joystick component because they're super common. So you can order a new one on eBay, Amazon. It does require soldering though, so that's the hurdle to actually remove these things. Or you can take it apart while it's still stuck onto that little motherboard deal and clean the various components that can wear out and still keep it intact so that you do have some options, but really at the heart of it you have to eventually just replace the thing with resoldering it. So that's kind of a hurdle, but you have some options so you don't have to shell out another 70-80 bucks or whatever for a new controller. But yeah, I'm hoping that this is just really isolated to people that are just completely destroying their controllers and throwing them around and or just really messing with that joystick to an insane degree. So hopefully it's not across the board. And it seems like it's not that case.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice, Cal. Well, got some info on that drift thing. We'll see if that continues to take over the internet. That is it for us this week, Callum. We got all through all our news and our PlayStation Book Club stuff going on. So we can end it there for the week. Where can they find you online, Callum?
Twitter at Bear Munro if you really want to.
I don't think they do. And you can keep up. They also don't want to keep up with the show, but you can keep up with the show at Plastic Heart Pod on Twitter as well. That is it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.